This is El Jefe. This is Adrian Santos, and I'm drinking at Moe's.
All right, everybody, taking time out before we get this show started. I want to thank Reaper Apparel for having Drinkin Mo's be a brand ambassador for their clothing line. They got good stuff. They got t-shirts, they got hoodies, they got beanies, they got lots of great stuff, encouraging everybody to break out of their comfort zone, live their best self, and hey, it's something I try to live every day. Now, be sure when you go and you're filling out your order, use the code Drinkin at Moe's, get 10% off, and the link and the code will both be in the description. Let's fucking go. Everybody, welcome Drinkin at Moe's. Big Mo here. You know the drill by now. YouTube, like, subscribe, share, comment. Hit the damn bell because it helps with that pain in the ass YouTube algorithm where most places and you can find audio podcasts too. Today, I'm excited to have with me out of New York City, Adrian Santos. How you doing?
I'm doing good, Mo. I'm doing good.
Obviously not drinking right now since you're in the car.
No, not drinking now. I advise no one to drink and drive,
Yes,
caution, but
we do not advocate drinking and driving on this show. If you're drinking, make sure you're in a bar or somewhere you're sitting down and not moving.
exactly.
All right.
I do enjoy a nice whiskey on the rocks.
Okay.
And some tequila on the side.
Yes. I enjoy, I think my two favorites they're both either they were owned by celebrities or they still are, but Casamigos that used to be owned by George Clooney.
Oh, and, Casamigos was good.
Casamigos. And Terramana, the Rocks one.
Yeah, definitely. I do enjoy both. I know people saying, "Oh, celebrity drinks most of the time aren't that great," but I always like to give a chance. Same thing I did with Proper 12 with Conor McGregor's and the Skull one, the Skull vodka. The Skull vodka, I think.
I'm trying to remember who with that one.
I think one of the guys from the Ghostbusters was behind that Skull vodka. I tried it just because someone had it at a bar I was at once. I was like, okay, I'll try it. It looks cool. I tried it with cranberry, and it was pretty good. I had no complaints about it.
The two tequilas, I swear, it's like you hear that joke: 1 tequila, 2 tequila, 3 tequila floor. It's like you put that stuff in a margarita, and you're gonna only be having maybe 1 or 2 of those because any more, and you're. Ooh.
Yeah, it all depends on who makes them. If they make them like really strong for some reason, then yeah, you're only gonna have like 1 or 2, and then that's it. There has to be a certain skill and certain mindset of how to make a great margarita. If you like it normal, okay, that's cool. Me, I like it normal too, but I also do enjoy flavored, either mango or strawberry. Yeah, those are really my go-tos. The mango, strawberry, or I just have it regular.
Yeah, most of the time I probably go regular, but yeah, mango's pretty good. Strawberry is definitely another good one that I'll have every once in a while. Now, when it comes to wrestling, getting into the wrestling side of stuff, the first thing I like to start off with everybody with is what got you started as a fan, and then what got you deciding to make that leap into the business?
What got me started as a fan is just that I've always been into like combat sports my whole life. So from a little kid, just watching to be honest, watching just Power Rangers growing up,
Hmm?
and then watching other action films. I was always into fighting and some kind of combat sports. So it started off with martial arts, started off with a little bit of karate, and then I always knew I was gonna do something with combat sports in my life. That's all I really knew. I'd know how to do, what to do, all that stuff. So
Yeah.
it was either gonna be pro wrestling or MMA. I didn't know much about MMA until my late teens, but I did know about wrestling. So I started watching wrestling at like around 8. So this has to be late '04 to early '05. I was hooked before I was constantly following the product. This was WWE at the time.
Mm.
Um, like around after January 2005. So like I was already hooked by Mania 21. That was the first show, big show I've ever seen. Like the first pay per view I
Mm.
ever bought was Mania 21, and I really enjoyed everything. So that was the start.
Funny thing, the first pay-per-view that I ever actually got to watch as it was happening, and not just on like the old scrambled channels that you'd be able to hear the audio, was actually
Oh, yeah.
WrestleMania 20.
I
I
never
went
saw
with a
that.
I, I went with a friend from my college class I was taking at the time. We went to Hooters. They're showing the pay-per-views there. So, and you know what? You brought up Power Rangers. I'll try not to tip this over. Those that watch the YouTube version, I actually got to meet him shortly before everything happened with him. But Jason David Frank.
Oh, that is so cool. Honestly, I have that same Funko. I have that same one, but it's unsigned, of course, because unfortunately, yes, he passed away, and it sucks. I never got to meet him because he was my all time favorite. He
He
really is.
was mine too, and you know what? I didn't even know he was coming to town until I was watching a pay per view with a friend of mine. He was like, "Hey, you hear Jason David Frank's coming to town? You want to go?" And I'm like, sure." And then boom,
That
I
was
got
so cool to see that.
I actually got a picture with him of him holding it after he signed it, like those morphin things.
Oh, that's nice.
Oh yeah, it was pretty awesome. But yeah,
To
one
not
I
try to.
I got my little collections back here, a bunch of signed stuff.
Oh, that's
I'm
cool.
you know,
Yeah, I see a couple of stuff back there. That's cool.
oh yeah, yeah, but like up top, that first row is just all signed figures.
Bro,
So
are they wrestling figures?
yes,
Okay.
yeah, I,
I don't have any signed figures at all. Like I do like it's been forever since I touched a wrestling figure. It really is. It's been years and years. I was big on collecting a bunch of them like around again when I first started getting into wrestling, I started collecting action figures in
yeah.
2005. I think I stopped around 2010,
Mm.
maybe 11. That's when I stopped collecting and they're all just somewhere in storage right now. But I
Yeah.
think I have like a good, if I'm not mistaken, I think I have like a good 60 to 70 figures of just various stuff. Yeah, because I like the figures from the past. I don't like the figures now. I
Yeah.
don't like the figures now, but I do like the figures back then, like the more bulky, like from Jack Pacific. Those
Those
were the good ones.
are hell going back
Yeah,
to the
I mean they look really nice now. Like they're very very detailed.
yeah.
But I just like the other ones better.
Oh yeah, no, I totally get you. Some of those are pretty great. Like it all started with me and it kind of snowballed from there when I went to go see Hangman Adam Page at a World of Wheels show here in town. And then it just snowballed from there. I ended up meeting Lance Archer at a indie show, and then shit, Keith Lee and Swerve, and just like I said, it snowballed after that.
That sounds good. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I've been lucky. One figure I have that I regret not having when I actually met the guy and actually had a mini episode of the podcast with Bronson Reed.
Bronson Reed. Oh yeah. I met
Yeah.
him. I met him briefly, like when he was just. I don't know if he quit or was released from NXT, and then before he got busy again in the Indies,
Mm,
like we were backstage at an indie show in Jersey, and I went to the back, and because I wasn't wrestling on the show, but I knew almost everybody on the card, so I went
yeah.
backstage to see everybody. That I met Bronson Reed. He's a cool dude. He's
Oh
massive.
yeah.
He's massive, but yeah, he's a cool
Oh
dude.
yeah. Yeah. I think he was like jumping between uh, Impact and New Japan at the time that
Yeah,
I met him.
yeah. It was that brief where you can see
Yeah.
him at an indie show before he got busy again, and then before he went back to WWE. So yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that was pretty fun. It was for some friends of mine out at Warrior Wrestling out of Chicago. They did a stop in St. Louis, and I got invited to it, so that was fun.
Yeah, that's a spot. They mentioned Warrior Wrestling. That's a spot that I would really enjoy going over and wrestling. There's a lot of top names on those shows, and that's definitely I know a spot that I'll definitely excel at.
Oh yeah, I have. I don't like to brag about it, but I do have the promoter's number on speed dial.
We
I've
we can
had them.
we can talk later about that. We can
Yeah,
talk.
I, I've I've had him on to do preview shows for a bunch of their shows, and I've actually had footage featured on their official pre-shows on two different streaming platforms.
All right, so well, that's good. You're doing good business
Oh
with
yeah, I got nothing but great things to say about those guys. And you know what? A promotion that they're they got some good stuff going on. Some other guys that I have a pretty good standing with right now, the Maximo Brothers, and their Wrestling Is Now out there
yeah,
right now in New York. There, they got a show coming up in February. And,
yeah. February 10th.
they've definitely been, you know, going full steam after that start, and now they got their their main champion. They got tag champs, which I'm trying to the Slime Balls, was it?
Yeah, the Slime Balls are our current tag champs, and Joey Conway's our current heavyweight champ.
Yep, I was lucky enough to have him on. I'm trying to remember. It was before he won the belt, but I wanted to say it was on one of the social media tours before the shows that I ended up talking to him. But that was a fun one.
So yeah, Joey Conway is definitely a character.
Yeah.
Talking to him backstage and then us sharing an experience wrestling in Puerto Rico
Mm.
this past year was really a great experience. You know, I got to see him. Well, I've seen his stuff, of course, before joining us at Win, and then now with Win, seeing his matches. I always look at everybody in the roster because at the end of the day, you always try to be number one,
Yeah.
and it's always something I've said throughout 2023 and now going to 2024, where yeah, Conway is someone special. I have no doubt that he'll do big things in the future, but he has something that I want.
I was gonna
Has
say
that
if you.
championship that I was screwed out of.
Mm.
Screwed out of an opportunity for that championship. I was screwed out of I was screwed out of another championship that we have at Wrestling Is Now, the Invitational Championship. But
Yeah.
but I'm going to right those wrongs in 2024. So I have no doubt in my
Mm.
mind
Oh
that
yeah.
that's going to be those both championships are going to be mine.
Uh, hey, The two at one time, double champ has a nice ring to it.
Oh yeah, of course. I've always wanted to be double champ. And why stop at two? That's why I want to go all other places. Make it three, make it four, five,
Yeah,
six. I just want to have a bag just with championships. And
be one.
then I'll make the promoters pay for that bag.
Good idea. And you know what? There, the term belt collector gets thrown around a lot, especially recently. But yeah, put your name in there as one of those. That would be something.
Yeah, of course. It's just that a lot, because I've been wrestling for June. When June 2024 hits, it will be 12 years of me being a professional wrestler. And I remember I was red hot in the beginning. You can ask the Maximo Brothers themselves because Joel Maximo trained me. I was with him from the very beginning. I still am to this day, 12 years later of knowing him. We've had a lot of ups and downs. And in the beginning of my professional wrestling career, he helped me out a lot. He still does. And I remember the beginnings, it was red hot where in the first company that he had, Fighting Spirit Wrestling, back in 2012, I was this brand new guy. He trained me. He put me in the spotlight, and then I was able to succeed with so many people that I'm grateful that I got the opportunity to wrestle. And that's what I've been saying for the past couple of years now. You give me an opportunity, there's no doubt in my I'm just gonna soar with that because back then I won back in Fighting Spirit Wrestling days. I won our secondary championship, and with that, I had great matches with people like Chuck Taylor, Drew Gulak, Evil before he became Evil from Japan Pro Wrestling. I also got to wrestle some amazing people, local people. Got to wrestle guys like Grim Reaper and Jigsaw, and just had a lot of fun then. That fire was just burning back then, and I feel like the last couple of years I lost it. But now with wrestling is now that fire has come back. So especially now with who I am now, it's like you need to. It takes years and years for you to figure out who you really are, and sometimes it takes years of pain to figure out who you really are. And now with Adrian Santos, this is truly who I am. This is not a gimmick. I really feel like this. You give me an opportunity, and I will show everybody who Adrian Santos is.
Oh yeah.
And sometimes promoters are afraid to give me an opportunity because they know I'm just gonna outshine and outperform all their favorite guys. So they keep that door closed. And sometimes I just have to just force my way in.
Reminds me of a line from people would look at me and not really expect me to know a lot about rap music. They probably, and yeah, I do listen to a lot of country music. I mean, probably some people look at me and would probably expect that, but what you were saying kind of reminds me of a line from a Tech Nine song that I heard literally on my way home, where at the very end he's like, I ain't knocking no more, I'm breaking in. You're not gonna tolerate that
Exactly
door being shut. You're just gonna break in and bust it open.
Yeah, because for a long time I've been told and I've just listened to just wait, your opportunity will come. But I'm in deep down, I'm someone who's very, very impatient. Like I do not care about anyone's feelings about towards like, okay, this is your guy, but I don't care. I know I can outperform him. I don't care if he's your guy. Just give me a match with your top guy. I will embarrass him. I will outperform him. I will out wrestle him. I will outfight him because really I'm more of a fighter than a wrestler. So you give me that match and you'll see what I've been saying for years now, that Adrian Santos, El Jefe, which means the boss for people who don't know what El Jefe means, that Adrian Santos has always been the man of professional wrestling.
Oh yeah, I I picked up little bits of Spanish. I was stationed in San Diego with the Navy, so it was
Oh,
like it,
cool.
right there. So yeah, I picked up a little bit. So I knew that word.
And
But
when was that?
this was like 2000. I got there in like early 2009, and I was there through 2012.
Okay, you spent a couple of years there. All right. Yeah, I'm sure you would have. Anyone would have picked up some Spanish
Yeah,
there.
definitely, definitely. Yeah. And, oh God, I used to joke because there'd be people on my ship that would, for some reason, still go to Taco Bell. And I'm like, nothing against Taco Bell, but I'm like, if you're here in San Diego and you can't find a decent taco with going there, I I got no faith in you.
Exactly. Or if they're feeling, spontaneous if they were loud. I mean, Tijuana's not that far from there. Cross the border,
True.
get some tacos and come back. I've heard a bunch of people in San Diego just do that as like a day trip, where you would think, oh, let's go to another country for a day trip. Like, what are you talking about? No, Mexico's right there. Like you can
Yeah,
walk
no,
there.
it's talked about very frequently.
That's
Yeah,
something I want to do. If I can, I don't know the San Diego wrestling scene or the Southern California. I know there's a lot of wrestling in Southern California, but like I would definitely want to be where I could spend like at least a weekend where I could wrestle in Southern California, and then if I have a free day or free time, just cross the border just to say I crossed the border,
yeah.
get some good food, and then come back and then wrestle.
Oh yeah. No, and you know what? That is actually where I got my start watching independent wrestling. Like I just Googled pro wrestling in San Diego and then boom, off to the races.
Oh, there you go. I
So
think I
yeah,
don't know. I mean, when it comes to like California wrestling, like the first exposure I ever got was PWG. That's the
yeah.
first company I've ever heard in California. And then when you get more into it, then you find places like because again I like a bunch of stuff. So I like PWG. I like old school XPW because I do enjoy deathmatch wrestling, even though a lot of people have their 2 cents about deathmatch wrestling. I
No,
know it's a
I love it myself.
but when it's just like any art form, if it's done
Mm.
correctly, if it's done with taste, then it can be a show. It can be something that people can enjoy, even
Oh,
change some spectators' minds.
oh yeah.
I
I
definitely enjoy deathmatch wrestling, so I do like XPW, Santano's Bros
Santino
from
Brothers. I
yeah,
do know.
Santana Brothers.
I
Yeah,
I am in touch with Joey Chaos about coming to do the show. I'm very familiar with Santino Brothers. Nothing but respect for those guys.
yeah, I've seen a lot of their stuff. That's definitely if I ever somehow go to California, like I've wrestled throughout my time with pro wrestling. I've wrestled a lot of states in the East Coast, and then I've been fortunate enough to wrestle internationally too. So Puerto Rico, in my own country, also of Ecuador. I've wrestled a couple of times there, but never. I mean, the farthest I've gone to wrestle was like Ohio, heading to the West Coast, but nothing further than that. But yeah, definitely wrestling in the West Coast. Now that I see that wrestling in the West Coast is becoming bigger and bigger, like places like in Oregon, Texas, California, even
Uh,
Arizona. There's some cool spots. So
oh yeah,
definitely,
I've been
definitely the
lucky
West
enough
Coast,
to.
definitely the West Coast is a goal for me.
Oh yeah, in each of those states, I've been lucky enough to get to talk with a handful of people from, well, really each of those states. I've good lord, I'm now over 200 episodes recorded, so like
It's
all
a lot
over the country.
that's really
And
really awesome for you.
oh yeah, I'm proud of myself because it all started with me just having an idea and starting with my friends that wrestle here locally. And then it got me thinking I'm going to run out of people after a certain point. So then The Maximo Brothers, they ended up liking a tweet of mine on somebody, I forget who, but I'm like, it was right around the time they had those couple of matches with the Hardys and the Briscoes, and I was just like,
Yeah, big
holy
time.
crap, that's them. So then I just reached out thinking, you know what, this is going to be a long shot, but let's see if it sticks. And then boom, now.
No, yeah, trust me, Joel and Jose, they're the type to be friendly to their fans. If someone wants to have a serious conversation and just wants to, or just talk shop about wrestling, then yeah, they'll be up
Oh,
for it.
oh yeah, nothing but great things to say about those guys. And it just got me. No, here's my other dog. But it just got me thinking that I actually posted about this the other week. It's like if you believe that you are capable and you deserve more, go out, do the work, and fucking take it. And
Yeah, of course.
that's kind of where I went from, you know, talking with my friends here locally, which I still do like to highlight people here locally whenever I get them. But I just got to the point where I'm like, you know what? I can do more. And then I just, after the Maximo Brothers, I going into deathmatch wrestling. I have signed ring worn kick pads from Alex Colon because I had him on.
Oh,
I
Alex.
I've had John Wayne Murdoch. I got something from him back there. I've had Neil Diamond Cutter, Madman Pondo. Oh God, I'm forgetting somebody, and I feel bad, but I've had a handful of deathmatch people on. Jake Christ. He's like all over the place on wrestling, but hell, I've legit seen him in a death match. So
Yeah, I've only had the I've only had a couple of death matches under my belts, but I definitely feel like I should have way more. Because again, that I feel like again, like I was saying before, a lot of people think that deathmatch is just throwing weapons at each other. That's bad
yeah,
death wrestling. But good deathmatch wrestling involves actual wrestling and knowing how to use weapons. So
yeah,
that's definitely something I also want to do. Not all the time, but like every now and then when, the scenario calls for it and the
yeah.
deal's good, then yeah, definitely.
Oh yes, and something that it comes up with all the time when I have different deathmatch people on is deathmatch wrestling being pretty much life. Like you said, any other form of wrestling, it's just surrounded by the deathmatch elements. And when it's done properly, that's exactly what it is. You got the regular wrestling, but then you start amping it up, and then boom, there's a light tube. Oh, there's a door, stuff
Exactly.
like that.
It's same as regular wrestling. If people just see, or if non-wrestling fans just see matches and matches of just bad wrestling, they're going to think wrestling is just fake and bad. But if you show
Yeah.
them good wrestling with good storytelling, good action behind it, then they'll completely change their minds. And that's what I do with my wrestling, with my matches. Like no one can say that they were in shock and awe of Adrian Santos match. They always see my matches and they go, "Wow, that's amazing!" or "Wow, you really kicked him in the head hard," or "You really elbowed him in the face." Because yes, I do that. I do not hold back. I do not hold back when I throw my strikes or when I kick people, when I throw people around. I go 100% every time I wrestle out there because that's how I feel. I can't half-ass anything.
Oh yeah, no, it especially, well, in any sport really, but I can imagine even more so in professional wrestling when both people aren't going full speed and like one person is, but then another's kind of half-assing it. That's when you get accidents and
Of
people
course,
getting
yeah.
injured. Shit.
Yeah. Luckily, I've never had someone where like I could feel like if they're not into this, they're always into it. And if I feel like,
That's good.
and then thankfully I've never had that scenario, but I've seen other people where it's like I've seen half-assed and then like the match just ends up not great. And
Yeah.
then they go to the back end and it could turn into a real fight in the back and like that. I don't. There's no room for any backstage fights in the locker
Yeah,
room. Locker room's a sacred spot. If you want to take that, go absolutely outside the building where I cannot see or hear you guys, and then you guys can handle that.
yeah, no, that is definitely the way to go about it. And oh, I'm just trying to think. The other place that I was wanting to talk about because also got a show with them coming up. I believe it's right the weekend after Wrestling Is Now, but Guts and Glory Pro Wrestling. You
Guts and
got a bit
glory.
of a tag team grudge match. Tell me about that. I mean, this is going to be coming out after, but I can, little teaser put together that,
Oh yeah,
for a
definitely.
little bit of a
I
preview.
plenty to say. I have plenty to say about that match. So, Guts and Glory Pro Wrestling from Richfield Park, New Jersey. It's going to be myself and a friend of mine. I've known for when I first started professional wrestling too, and someone I can even say helped me come up with creative mindset when it comes to professional wrestling. Superstar Whiplash. He doesn't really wrestle as much anymore, but I know anytime he steps into the ring nowadays, it's still he gives it his 100%, and it's like he's never left the ring. So we're gonna wrestle the Urban Kings. We're gonna wrestle New York legends, New Jersey legends in Azrael and Ghost Shadow.
Mm.
These guys have been wrestling for 20 plus years. Everyone respects them. They're in the same boat as the Maximos, the Briscoes, the Hit Squad, Jay Lethal, everyone from the beginnings of Ring of Honor
Yeah.
and promotions around that time, the early 2000s. They're from that era. And from the last Guts and Glory show, I finished my rivalry with Azrael because before that show, me and Azrael wrestled back in 20 I want to say 2013 or 14. That's the first time me and Azrael wrestled, and we absolutely killed it. He unfortunately won because he had some help back then.
Mm.
But this time around, Adrian Santos, 2023, I beat him. I beat him fair and square. I tapped him out, and his friend Ghost Shadow, like I said in a video that I put out on my social media, he got salty. He was mad. He was upset that someone from the newer generation beat him. And then he wanted to jump me from behind, kick me in the nuts, and thought he could get away with it. Oh no,
Mm.
he's not gonna get away with it. He's
Oh,
no he knows that he cannot mess with a Jefe Adrian Santos, El Ecuatoriano. He knows he can't do that. So I had to bring someone special for this match. I have my group. I have my men by my side. We are known as Elegant Violence. I have those guys always. They're always watching my back. But for this match, it had to be something special. It had to be a little something extra.
yeah.
Not only for Azrael and Ghost Shadow, but for the fans of Guts and Glory and for the fans of professional wrestling. So I had to bring in Superstar Whiplash. And I know me and him are going to kill it. We're going to take out Azrael. We're going to take out Ghost Shadow. And I'm going to be done with both of these guys, hopefully, once and for all. And then me and Superstar Whiplash, we can shake our hands, have a drink, and go our separate ways.
That would be good, kind of cap off all the craziness that has gone on with that. I would imagine, a nice little toast to friends after.
Exactly. Of
Nice
course.
little fitting end to all of it.
Of course.
Now, I have two categories here that, I like to fit into every episode. First one's a bit of a name game where I name off some people and you give me quick thoughts on them. And I try to theme it towards the guests as much as possible. And, with New York and the history that New York has with professional wrestling, each of these people are known from New York State, if not New York City in itself.
Right.
So, first one of my personal current favorites right now, Eddie Kingston.
Eddie Kingston. he's one of the goats. He truly is. Someone
No,
who someone who is truly for a very long time I felt was underrated. He should have been on television a long, long time ago. Of course, he's gonna do things his way. I only met him once. I only met him once when New Japan came to Manhattan,
mm,
and just from that brief interaction with Eddie, he's a really cool guy. Anything you see on TV, that's him. And just because I'm also friends with other people that are known Eddie and just that whole
yeah.
early 2000s group, he's a really cool guy. He's someone I really do want to wrestle with. So hopefully, before he decides to finally put his boots to rest, hopefully me and him can share a match because me and him have the same style. It's going to be hard hitting, just going to be strong style. That's how I was raised, strong style with hints of lucha, but mostly strong style. And I know me and him are going to have a great match. So 100% respect for Eddie Kingston.
Oh, most definitely. Like I said, one of my current favorites right now. I I tend to gravitate towards those intense personas. Those and like Eddie Kingston's very much that. I mean, I'm very happy for him getting the current run that he's on right now, having the strong title, the ROH title, the all the
Oh yeah, the Continental.
the
Yeah, the triple.
continent there we go, the Continental Crown. That the whole thing with the three of those is a little confusing to me, but I'm happy he's the guy that has it.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, it's definitely well deserved. Definitely well deserved.
Most definitely. Now the next person is also there in AEW right now, a different role from in the past, but I think I remember him mostly from that original ECW run, the Suplex Machine Taz.
I think Taz is funny. His commentary,
Yeah.
yeah, because again, back in 2000 when I started watching wrestling in 2005, he was doing commentary for SmackDown, and he was always funny to me. And then when I got into wrestling, because when I got into wrestling, I did not know anything about indie wrestling, absolutely nothing, nothing. And then when people at the class that I was training with were telling me, "Yo, you should look up, the SATs more, look up what Ring of Honor was," because I didn't know what Ring of Honor was. I didn't know what PWG was. ECW I knew a little bit, WCW a little bit. So I really did my homework those first couple of years. And then when I got to see what Taz was in ECW, I was like, oh wow, that's really, really awesome. Like he really was like almost like almost like a walking weapon, something like that. Where it's like no one
Exactly. Yeah.
no one dared to mess with Taz. No one dare to um dare to look at him the wrong way. And even to a point where now I do the Taz mission as one of my finishers, but I just do the opposite arm just because I want
Ah,
to. I know he likes the left to be up, but I do the right to be up, just to be
yeah.
different.
That little bit of a twist to make it your own thing. I
Exactly.
gotcha. Yeah, I just remember two of my favorites with him are those that series that he had with Bam Bam Bigelow, where one match they end up falling through the ring, and then the one where they're falling through the entrance ramp. I'm like, I remember the first time I saw those, I'm like, oh damn,
Yeah, those are classic moments that because again, if you know SAT's history, they were students at the House of Hardcore at the very tail end of ECW. So unfortunately, you didn't see the SATs really in ECW, like on pay-per-views or television, because they just made it at the very end.
yeah,
But I'm sure if ECW would have kept on going, you would have seen a lot more craziness, a lot more innovation at ECW, and that would have been such a bigger thing for
oh
for
yeah,
for both of them. And then because that's what ECW was. ECW was a company that innovated changed everything
oh
for
yeah,
the better, and then just influenced all companies now, and
Oh
everyone
yeah.
tries to recreate ECW in some way or fashion. You can't recreate that. You can try your best, but I know it's not going to be exactly the same. Or you can even try to do the impossible and try to do something that's even better than ECW, and that's what Joel did with his first company. Because anyone in New York City can tell you it's from 2012 to 20, because our Fighting Spirit Wrestling was from like end of 2011 through around the end of 2015. No, 2016. But the golden years were from like 2012 to like 2014, 15. No company can touch us. We were better than any other New York City company out there. House of Glory couldn't touch us. Warriors of Wrestling couldn't touch us. No other company dared to open because they knew we had the biggest crowds at our show every single month. And unfortunately, good things have to end. And unfortunately, that ended. But now we are back with Wrestling Is Now with a better mindset. We learn from our mistakes. We try to build a better relations, and we are building better relationships. And I have no doubt in my mind that Wrestling Is Now is going to be 100% better than what we had back in the past.
Oh yeah. And from what I've been able to see, I'm very confident that the sky's not even the limit for you guys there. It's some amazing stuff.
There's no such thing as a ceiling for us. We can always do more and more and more.
Oh yeah. Now, next up, these guys have had some run-ins with the last guy. Um, Actually, just had a reuniting of sorts at Impact TNA, whatever you want to call them now. But the Dudley Boys.
Dudley Boys again are another innovative team that you look at them like you don't want to mess with them. They look scary. They look badass. A
Yeah.
legacy, well deserved. You know, I've never met either of them, but I would definitely would really like an opportunity to talk to each of them because from stories you hear, they're both really smart guys.
Oh yeah.
Again, being in the business for what more than 30 years now, they know what they're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
They seem to both know how to adapt. They know how to take what they learned and bring it into modern wrestling. They're not like old school people or people who have old school mindsets where they're just stuck in their ways and
Yeah.
don't understand the wrestling now. I know a lot of people don't like the wrestling of nowadays, but then it's just that you need to learn how to adapt. You need to learn that the fans aren't the same back in the 1990s.
Yeah.
They want a little bit more, sometimes they want a little bit less. So it's good that they look like they're really smart men that know how to adapt and know how to run a business. And funny enough, when I now you mentioned the Dudley Boys, where when I first wanted to learn how to wrestle, I didn't know where to go. Because again, I didn't know nothing about wrestling or anything
Yeah.
like that. No indie wrestling mindset whatsoever. Nothing. So when I saw that Team 3D had their school in Florida,
Ah,
I,
yeah.
I was very close to just go to Florida and train with them and see where things go because it was during the time of TNA and then possible if things were done right. Again, this is me thinking back as like a 17-year-old 18-year-old, thinking if you can train with them they can help you get into TNA and then things can go from there. So
Yeah.
I was very close, but then I found other places here in New York, eventually found Joel Maximo and his school back in 2012. So I felt like it was a good decision. And yeah, hopefully one day I get to meet them, at least say hello, shake their hands, pick their
Oh,
minds a bit, and then see what happens.
oh yeah. No, I'd love that opportunity myself because, especially back in that ECW run, it was like nobody was able to rile up those crowds like those guys. Like people damn near jumping over the guardrails to try to beat them up, and just knowing that if they were to get anywhere close, that both of those guys could beat the living shit out of anybody that jumped over the guardrail.
They can take care of, and that's what I love, and that's why people always say like they want to try to recreate that ECW feeling. It's just that it's hard nowadays. Like you can't really do that now for many reasons, both
Yeah.
legal and morals, and yeah. But I've always said like if you could try to get the same heat that what's that infamous heat wave 90 was 97 98 heat, that promo that Bubba Ray did.
Yeah.
If you can say a promo like that and then get away with it and create that much heat where like people do want to almost physically attack you, that's amazing. That's every heel's dream.
Oh yeah. Yep. And there's been people that have come close, but nobody's been able to get that.
I would agree. Yeah, close. Yeah, like because again, like nowadays these wrestling fans are a whole lot more smarter. Like you thought like smart marks existed back then. These people have like PhDs nowadays.
Yeah.
It's very hard
Yeah.
to like. Thankfully, we it's like almost like having Santa Claus in wrestling, where like you still have those little kids that still believe that wrestling is real. We try to do that. We try to or at least show skeptics or non-wrestling fans that this is a form of sport and that this is something to be taken serious. So those people are still like we still try to control them, and that creates just a great atmosphere.
You give people that little bit of like, I know this is predetermined, but that is something different.
Exactly. It's very hard nowadays to try to be different, but when you get that moment or when you see that there's a moment to be different, you have to take it
Oh yeah.
because you never know when that moment can happen again. So you just have to try to, and then just like it's like lightning in a bottle.
Oh yeah.
That once
Yep.
that happens, and everyone sees it. Everyone's gonna be shocked and awe, and your career or your company that you're representing for can just soar from
Oh,
there.
oh yeah. Most definitely. Last but not least, for name game here, somebody that I was rather happy for them back at I forget what year it was now, but Backlash when they did it in Puerto Rico. The reaction that she got in her match against Rhea Ripley, talking about Zelina Vega.
Oh yeah, Selena Vega. Yeah, yeah. Again, I mean, not a huge opinion on her. I know because I remember seeing her back in like the early TNA days.
Yeah, I remember those.
Her, I feel like yeah, she was working hard over there, and then her transitioning into WWE. Yeah, I'm not a huge fan, but yeah, I respect her hard work. She's clearly knows what she's doing because she still has a job.
Yeah.
She knows how to work hard. She knows how to promote herself, both in wrestling and outside of wrestling. So that's something that everybody needs to know how to do now because we can't. It's not back in the days where they were giving fat paychecks to wrestlers. Things are tough now. There's a million of us now instead of just hundreds back in the day.
Yeah.
And yeah, so people just have to know how to market themselves and make money outside of professional wrestling.
Oh
And
yeah.
yeah, that she's someone I think what she has like Twitch or something.
Yeah, Twitch. She's pretty
Yeah.
big on there. Yeah.
So yeah, she's making money with that. She probably has money in all other sorts of forms of income, sorts of entertainment. So yeah, that's cool for her.
Oh yeah, definitely. Now I have some random questions. Some might be wrestling related, some might not be, some might have absolutely nothing to do with anything we've talked about so far.
All right.
So I give you the question, you give me first answer that pops in your head.
All right.
So first one, craziest in match moment for you.
My right knee buckled.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was for Outlaw Wrestling. It was we're in a four-way, and a guy did a house show dive on me with a twist, and I figured, yeah, I've caught this guy a million times, no issues. But this time when he did it, the guardrail was kind of too close to the ring, so instead of me just falling back, it's like his weight just fell on top of me, and so I felt like
Oh.
my right knee definitely buckled because like I told him, give me give me 30 seconds to get in the ring, do something, because like my next like I had to get in the ring and finish the match. And so you can clearly see that I'm in pain. And yeah, I was in pain for a little bit, but the adrenaline kicks in and you don't really feel much. But then when you get to the back, you're like, oh, okay, something's wrong. But thankfully, it wasn't too serious. I just did some rehab, some shock therapy for like a month, and I was fine after that. So thankfully, I haven't broken anything. I haven't torn anything. So, but it was just that was the scariest moment because I never felt anything like that ever.
Oh yeah. No, I can understand, and I like keeping that question in this category because I love hearing the stories behind it. Like, oh, I tell this one a lot because it was just one that I didn't. I don't know why I didn't think I would hear something like it, but it always sticks in my head and it makes me laugh. Lloyd Anoa'i told me about in the original ECW, he was having a match against New Jack, and they were told something like specifically not to destroy something,
Right.
but then they both end up going through a wall, like literally through a wall, and Paul Heyman proceeds to yell at them after the match.
Yeah, they destroyed a wall. That must have cost a lot of money. And knowing ECW back in the day with their financial troubles, that would have been like, oh, guys, that's like thousands of dollars I have to fucking pay.
Yeah, yeah. I've always thought with the original ECW and some of the stories and the documentaries I've watched, it's like, man, if he would have just learned to delegate all the things that he was trying to do by himself, then who knows where they'd be right now.
Exactly. And that was I honestly because tell me again, ECW was what from '93 to '01, right? So
Right around there, yeah.
like an 8 year history, right? Fighting Spirit Wrestling, I felt like was exactly like ECW. Like we came in so hot and then we just burned like that quickly because we lasted from 2011 to like 20, I want to say 16 or maybe 15 or 16. So we lasted a little bit less than ECW, but it had that ECW feeling where like
Yeah.
if you could only go back in time and go to one of our shows back in 2013 in Brooklyn, where it was kind of smallish. The locker room was downstairs, so you had to walk upstairs and through the curtain. And the ring was dead center in the middle of like a warehouse, which was also our training facility. But when we had show days, we would it was that's why I say I love show days there because it was like quick and easy where all you had to do was clean the ring up, make sure everything was nice and tight and organized, put up the guardrails and put up the seats. You would think we would be good for maybe 150 to 200 people. But no, we would get like 300 people there. We would have people standing sideways or at least maybe 100 people or maybe a little bit less than 100 people standing. And then since there was a gate before you get before fans get into entranceway, and we were in this is like an area in Park Slope where there was like a lot of families, a lot of people walking around. You would see just like maybe like 10, 20 people just looking outside, looking from the outside, like what's going on, and then you see wrestling going on, and like it just looked chaotic. So it felt like an ECW feeling where it's like you see just a lot of people going absolutely loud. Those fans were absolutely going crazy every single show, and those were just amazing moments.
That is awesome. Now, this one everybody has their favorite food. I know I have mine that my wife gives me shit every time we go to a restaurant. She's like, you don't even need the menu. You know what you're getting. But people also have their least favorite, like something they just don't even want to touch. What is one of those for you?
Oh, soup. I'm not a fan of soup.
Okay.
Like
It is.
yeah, I try
I'm
to
with
avoid
you.
soup. I try to avoid soup as much as I can. But I know like every now and then, it all depends on who makes it. Like really, the only soup I'll ever like maybe, and that's even maybe order or get something is something called sancocho, which is like Dominican soup with all the meats and all the trimmings with it. That's really, and also cheese soup, which is sopa de queso. That's from Ecuador, where it's like potato, spaghetti, and cheese.
Mm.
Those are really the only two soups I'll even then maybe go ahead and order. But other than that, I won't touch soup really.
My dad is kind of the same way. The only kind of soup like thing that he'll really do is chili. That's literally the only thing he'll really do.
That's almost cheating, but I would agree. I like chili too. Like the first chili I've ever had was like from Wendy's. I was like, "Is
Mm,
that the kind of soup?" And I was like, and some people told me, "Yeah." I was like, "Okay." I just
yeah,
kind of
yeah. And
I'll eat soup
my
more.
dad, like, he doesn't even have a recipe really. Like, he has the basic, and then it's just like throwing different stuff. But he'll make it like not so spicy for everybody else because I seem to be the only one in the family that likes it spicy. So I'll just take a bottle of hot sauce and just.
Well, that's good for you because I'm someone who really doesn't enjoy spice at all. I'll maybe dabble in it a little bit, but then I have to just cover it with other stuff. I just like it for the flavor, but not for the
Yeah,
heat. I can't
yeah.
do I cannot do heat whatsoever.
Oh yeah. No, I can do the heat, but I prefer the flavor. Definitely. Now, well, for me though, and I've had people give me some weird reactions to this one because some people just seem to love it, but deviled eggs. I can't do it.
I mean, I've had hard boiled eggs, but but I think I've had deviled eggs in the past, and like I like it because it's like you just take the yolks and then mix it with other stuff, and then it's kind of like an egg salad, but with the white part of the egg as a cup, and I don't know, I
Yeah.
like it. Yeah, I enjoy it.
Yeah.
Again, it
I
all
don't
depends.
know. I don't know. For me, I don't know if it's that texture thing or what, but yeah, I've
Perhaps,
last
yeah,
time.
I would say yeah, because it's like you're taking like it's almost like whipped something, like a thick whipped custard, and putting it on the white part of an egg. So yeah, I would for people who like give me that reasoning is like okay, yeah, I could kind of get it, but for me, I don't know, I'm fine with it.
Oh yeah, no, and like to each their own. I like I have said a bunch of times with wrestling, there's different flavors. People have their different tastes. Some people like one thing, other people don't. And then hell, you have me when it comes to wrestling, is like put wrestling on in front of me and I'll sit there and watch it.
Yeah, definitely,
All
yeah,
right.
definitely. Someone who doesn't even watch, I don't watch WWE that much. I do watch the pay-per-views all the time, and then I try to keep in touch with it like every now and then. But I do watch the pay-per-views all the time. That's something I do watch all the time, and then
Oh
just
yeah.
try to make sure I understand the story behind it. Then, yeah,
Oh hell, anymore. And yeah, I still watch it, but I get this feeling with the amount that I've watched that you could literally watch the episodes of Raw and SmackDown directly before a pay per view, and then you'll get the gist of everything going into the pay per view. You don't even need to watch any of the other stuff.
all right.
All right. So, next one, I showed some of my hobby back here. what is a hobby, if any, you have?
Uh, Now with your show called Drinking at Moe's, besides pro wrestling, I do enjoy making cocktails myself. So
Okay,
I'm also a private bartender.
okay.
So whenever I can, or whenever the opportunity comes, like jobs here and there, I do go to people's private homes or venues that they rent out and just make drinks for everyone. Because that's always something I've always liked to do. Like if I wasn't gonna wrestle or fight professionally, I was gonna do something with alcohol. Either try to make my own liquor or work at great bars. Or luckily, I found myself working privately at different spots that people would just hire me, and yeah, those are fun too.
Hey, that's all right. I don't think I've ever heard of anything like that, but hey, I can imagine, especially in New York, you could probably make some pretty damn good money with that.
Yeah, thankfully, this season of this around time is a little slow, but trust me, when it was like spring and summer, I was busy. If I wasn't wrestling on the weekends, it was bartending on the weekends, and those were fun times, and it still is fun times. I get a party every now and then, during this time because it's cold. New York is so cold right now. It is very cold right now. But thankfully that's been good to me. But hopefully the main thing is of course professional wrestling,
Right.
getting where I want to go to. So that's really my main thing.
Well, understandable. So, well, perfect segue into this. We've kind of talked a little bit about it, but with the name of a show like I have, I feel like I almost have to have this one in here. Favorite drink, whether it be alcoholic or non, or hell, one of each.
Yeah, I'll do one of each because my favorite non-alcoholic drink is the citrus punch called Tampico, which is
I've heard of
yeah,
it.
it's very well. It wasn't hard to get. Well, it's not really hard to get here in the States. You can get in like because thankfully I live in a neighborhood in Brooklyn where it's like there's a lot of Spanish supermarkets, so they're very easy to get. But back in my country of Ecuador, they used to have it a lot because and I used to think that Tampico was an Ecuadorian product, but
Mm,
no, it turned out to be Mexican. So in Ecuador, they don't really have that anymore. Either it's very hard to find or it's just non-existent. So I just end up drinking other juices or other stuff like that. But yeah, Tampico with water because I like to cut my depending on the juice. I like to cut my juice with water, just because I don't like things super sweet
mm.
and I don't. I want to drink more of it. So a big gallon. I always put like another gallon of water next to it, so it can last me a little bit longer. But I still end up drinking a lot of it, which is it's an addiction. It literally says on the bottle "irresistible," and the label is not lying. It really is irresistible. It's an amazing drink. I recommend it to anybody because it's very very flavorful, and I just love it. And when it comes to alcohol, I'm not a beer person. I'm not a beer wine person. I'm definitely someone like we mentioned before, definitely tequila or whiskey. So I would definitely either do Jack on the Rocks or Jack and Cranberry. And if I'm feeling tequila, I'll do tequila with pineapple. And that's
Okay.
what I would do. Yeah.
I
I
I've
dabble in a lot of
enjoyed.
stuff, but those are my go-to.
Oh yeah, no tequila. I definitely like mixing it with lemonade. Tequila and lemonade,
Yep.
something that I've enjoyed. And whiskey, I I never ended up having this until I was literally on my honeymoon, and we were on an Alaskan cruise and stumbled on Jack and Coke with grenadine. Basically, tastes like a Jack and cherry Coke. Delicious.
Wow, well, you said Jack and Coke and grenadine?
Yeah.
Jack and Coke grenadine. Well, okay, I'm also someone who's like, I refuse to have soda. Like, I do not like anything carbonated, which is why I don't really even drink beer. But but yeah, I'm someone like I even thought when I got older, I was like, okay. I don't like soda, but maybe with alcohol it works. So I had a Jack and Coke when I first started drinking, and I was like, nope, it's still there. I don't like it.
Eh,
I'd rather have it neat or on the rocks, or let's mix it with
Understandable.
something else. And yeah,
Understandable. Yeah. I mean, I'll admit, I probably drink a little too much soda. I'm a bit of a Dr. Pepper fiend. I go through it like crazy.
I mean, people love soda, and that's fine. Just just like anything else. Same thing with my special citrus punch. Like, yeah, it's amazing. I mean, you shouldn't have it all the time. Same thing with soda. You shouldn't have it all the time, but a good balance
Yeah.
isn't gonna kill anybody.
Oh, most definitely. Now, last but not least, here, best advice you have for anybody wanting to get into wrestling.
Please start as early as you can, and please be 100% devoted to it. Because to other people, I always say this is my saying. Like professional wrestling is like joining a gang, but a good gang. It's like joining a gang. Like once you commit to this, you have to commit to this because if you leave, you feel bad for yourself. Especially if you're in a good place with a company or with like people that you wrestle with, like you let them down. But more importantly, you leave yourself down. Like just because you decided to quit, then that's it. Really, really think about this because this is really, really something you have to really devote yourself to. And please do not waste your time. Don't waste anyone else's time because I really felt that way for a long time, and it took others to change my mind. But I felt like for a very long time I've been wasting my time with pro wrestling. Not the sense that wrestling isn't great. I love
Yeah.
pro wrestling. It's just that I feel like I was in the same loop over and over again because not a lot of people know who Adrian Santos is outside of like the tri-state area. And that's unfortunate because I've been wrestling for 12 years. I don't want to end up being, and I've seen it with other people where like they've been wrestling, they say for 15, 20 years, but I don't know your name outside of the state that you're wrestling for. Like I need to be, and thankfully I did start as early as I could. I started at 17. I'm 29 now, but then again, you have to realize you're 29. You're soon going to be 30, and unless you are the biggest star in the world, the higher ups, if you want to be friends with Triple H in Orlando or friends with Tony Khan in Tampa or wherever AEW first started, like not a lot of people like wrestlers that are in their mid to late 30s unless you are someone special, which was surprising to me where I saw, for example, like the best example of that was like LA Knight. This
Mm.
guy's like this guy's like in his 40s, like almost early to mid
I
40s.
wanted to say around that.
He's in his 40s. Like if this was 10 years ago, he would be laughed out of the building and he would never be signed. But since he proved himself to be someone special, he
Yeah.
was one of the lucky ones to be in a position that he is now at his age. Because again, wrestling is about age.
Oh yeah.
That's
And
that's why you saw back in the day, like not even that much longer, where you saw where they would love people because I knew a couple of people who had tryouts for WWE,
yeah.
and this was probably like in the 2015s to before the 2020s, where like where it's like they love people in their early to maybe almost mid 30s because they want men to be mature, and then they want their female wrestlers as young as possible. But now it's almost like they want everybody to be as young as possible. Like they want to grab football players fresh out of college. Like they barely turned 21 and they want them in WWE. And I'm 29 now. I can't turn back time. I have experience on my side. I have a
Yeah.
lot of stories. I've wrestled a lot of people. I know a lot of things, but so has thousands of other people. So I'm just trying to make myself unique as much as possible, and that's what I'm doing with Wrestling Is Now. And hopefully, I was trying to find a way to do it where I'll try to just branch out as much as I can, take the chance, take the opportunities, find opportunities, and see where it goes because time is ticking. So that's my biggest advice.
Oh
Take
yeah,
this,
no,
do it as early
very,
as possible, do it as smart as possible. If you and don't be afraid to burn a bridge or two. At the
yeah,
end of the day, if the people who you burn are truly like looking out for you and your friends, do it in a respectful manner as much as you can, and just they'll see. Okay, it was good to leave. It was good to not do this show for us because you had this opportunity.
yeah.
So
Starting out early, definitely great advice because not everybody can start out late and catch on like Diamond Dallas Page did back in the day.
someone who started, I think, what was he like 34,
He
35?
he was yeah he was around there when he started, and then he just caught on.
Exactly. Those are like those special cases, like a DDP,
LA Knight.
like a LA Knight. Even thankfully, like we were talking about earlier, Eddie Kingston. Like Eddie
Mm,
Kingston was about to retire, and then luckily he found this because he was 18 years in, and only really a good diehard indie fans knew who Eddie Kingston was because he
yeah,
wasn't on television. He wasn't gonna he wasn't really. I don't think he was gonna. Again, I don't know him that well, so I can't really speak for him. But I don't know if he was gonna really change his persona just to get a contract. But
yeah.
uh, but thankfully, an alternative came in AEW. I'm sure he's making a lot of money now, and thankfully he has. Thankfully with AEW, there's other avenues like New Japan and other places that I know he likes to do. So, it's all about right place, right time for people like that. And those people get to get lucky. Diamond Dallas Page with WCW and LA Knight with WE and NWA and Impact. So it's all about right place, right time. And that's what I'm trying to do right now. Be at the
Oh
right
yeah.
place, at the right time, and see where it goes.
And another thing you brought up about branching out, and people getting known outside of like their normal area, that is one thing that I've actually been hoping for with the podcast is getting eyes on people outside of their general areas. So it's like, hey, if they want to branch out, somebody from Nebraska, or hell, out in California, because I know I got viewers, listeners out there, they can get their eyes on a guest and bring them out there and get them to branch out a little.
Yeah, of course. It's all about nowadays with wrestling, and even back then, but now it's a lot more a lot more easier or accessible where people can, work with each other and can market off each other. Like you have this platform, I have this platform. Let's collaborate and just try to grow our businesses, try to make some money, try to get more exposure. Like that's everyone wins. It's all
Oh
about
yeah.
business. It's all about business and money with professional wrestling and just in life in general.
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, before we go, where can people find you social media wise? So if they don't already have their eyes on you, they can go ahead and get them there.
I go on I'm mostly on Instagram. So you can find me at Adrian Santos Nightmare on Instagram. Adrian Santos on Facebook. You can my pictures there clear as day. You can find me there. Twitter, no, I really don't use Twitter that much. My socials are really Facebook and Instagram, and you can find me at Wrestling Is Now. If you
Ah,
follow
yes.
If you can follow me on you can follow Wrestling Is Now on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and also Guts and Glory, Facebook,
Mm.
Twitter, Instagram. You'll see me there. Those are companies that I wrestle for now, and hopefully there's plenty more companies to go.
Oh, definitely. We'll get all that in the description. Well, that is about all I have. Thank you for taking the time to talk to me tonight, and best of luck out there. Guts and Glory Pro Wrestling is now and everywhere in between in 2024.
Well, thank you as well. Thank you for having me. Thank you for reaching out. And it was really fun talking.
Thank you. That means a lot.